Weird.
Okay, One Young World, I'm back again.
Yay!
Now, it's my pleasure to introduce that fine young gentleman on the end, Victor Obinna. Now, Victor has been a public health activist since he was 8 years old. Victor saw around him in Nigeria the poor healthcare provision in local areas and was determined to do something about it. That inspired him to pursue a professional career as a qualified nurse. And while he was at university, he was a student leader, an activist. Now that resonates with me because I used to be a student union president as well. So Victor and I have something in common. But more importantly, while he was at university, he began outreach in Nigeria to local communities to help with HIV and HIV understanding and HIV prevention. And I'm not very good with numbers. I'm only a chartered accountant. But Victor tells me that at least 203 people who were HIV positive were probably saved by his intervention and by getting them the correct medical treatment in time. Since then, Victor has expanded, so he now deals with both HIV and malaria, and that's very much about being preventative in the local community in Nigeria. What's next for this talented young man? Well, he's hoping to study in the UK to take his professional qualification further, and I can't wait to see what he does next. One Young World, can I present Victor Obinna?
Oil was discovered in Niger Delta on Sunday, 15 January 1956. Nigeria was then a British protectorate, and the detection of oil was made in a joint operation between BP and Shell. But what should have been Nigeria's blessing has turned out to be our curse. Today, more than 86 million Nigerians live in poverty. That's half our population. Even though we are Africa's biggest oil producer, generating 300 million liters of crude oil every day. During this process, 40 million liters, the equivalent of 250,000 barrels of oil, are spilled into our Niger Delta environment every year. I grew up in the Delta. I lived in a slum where we experienced the effects of this catastrophe. Our communities are poisoned with hydrocarbons and forced to breathe polluted air. During the rainy seasons, our rivers overflow their banks. That surface water is now mixed with the products of oil spillage and waste. This water comes into our homes, contaminating our cooking pots and food. The result is an increase in respiratory infections, diarrhea, sore eyes, itchy skin, heart and lung disease, infertility, childhood diseases, and cancers. To address this crisis, I set up the 360-degree Health Network in 2016. We are a health advocacy civil society group that brings free medical outreach to rural communities in the Niger Delta. We work with 30 healthcare providers and non-medical volunteers We provide free medical diagnostic services and refer people to government hospitals. Our free medical outreach reaches 500 people every month and includes free distribution of drugs and mosquito nets. We run awareness campaigns on the adverse health effects of being exposed to hydrocarbon from fossil fuels. Thanks to our advocacy work in promoting health equity, the government has set up 3 healthcare centers in the Niger Delta. As a public health advocate, I have reported several cases of oil spillage and illegal oil refining, which causes serious environmental pollution. My organization has mobilized 403 community volunteers in different communities in the Niger Delta who report to us cases of pipeline damage and illegal oil refining. My lobbying of the government and oil companies led in 2016 to the launch of a clean-up program in Ogoniland, one of the environmentally damaged regions of the Niger Delta. This hydrocarbon pollution remediation project has marked out 21 sites for decontamination. If this cleanup is fully implemented, it will make our land fertile for farming and vegetation, and will transform the lives of 1 million people for the better. The 360-degree Health Network has helped 10,000 young people undergo entrepreneurial training in communities where traditional ways of life have been destroyed by oil spills. We teach them skills ranging from poultry, fishing, snail farming, to website design and social media marketing. Without these opportunities, some of these young people would be engaged in illegal oil refining, creating even greater environmental destruction. Since 2018, we have worked on the anti-black suit campaign to combat air pollution through the burning of fossil fuels. And we protect our ecosystem through the planting of over 20,000 trees to preserve our mangrove forests. The discovery of oil in the Niger Delta 60 years ago was a fateful moment. But we young Nigerians will not allow it to destroy our land, our health, and our future. Thank you.
Lamia, I believe it's you.
Hello. So it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Miel Sikera Home from the island of Palau, an island of only 20,000 inhabitants in the Pacific.